The New Apostolic Reformation is a Christian movement, also called Neo-Apostolism, that blends Pentecostal and evangelical elements with a focus on spiritual warfare and seeking Christian dominion over society. Key aspects include a belief in modern apostles and prophets, the Seven Mountain Mandate for societal influence, and a controversial approach to Christian supremacy as coined by its founder C. Peter Wagner. The movement combines elements of Pentecostalism and evangelicalism, emphasizing spiritual warfare to influence and control all aspects of society. Many leaders within the NAR refer to themselves as apostles and prophets. A central goal is to achieve Christian dominion over society and to weaken or end the separation of church and state. The term was coined by C. Peter Wagner, who also founded the network characteristic of the movement. The NAR is considered a controversial movement, particularly associated with the far right and Christian supremacist theology. Now, if you're like me, you believe the Bible is enough. You believe that Jesus Christ, our great high priest, is our final authority, and his word is sufficient for life and godliness. But what happens when a massive, rapidly growing movement within Christianity starts telling you that your faith is deficient, that the Bible is incomplete, or that the mission and methods of the Christian church have changed? For the last few decades, something has been quietly building inside our churches, our worship music, and our youth groups. It's called the New Apostolic Reformation, or NAR. They are organized, global, and they are claiming to initiate a second Reformation that will surpass Martin Luther's. The NAR doesn't operate like a denomination. It operates like a military network, and this network is built on two unbiblical doctrines. Firstly, restored governance. Secondly, the Dominion Mandate, also known as the Seven Mountains Mandate. The NAR says we must restore the offices of the apostle and prophet with the same power and authority as Peter and Paul to lead the church today. This introduces a new layer of authority, the word of the modern apostle, that stands alongside and even above the scriptures. They claim they have a divine mandate to conquer and rule all of society, the seven mountains of culture. They believe the church must establish a physical, global Christian utopia before Christ can return. Think about that for a second. The church's mission shifts from making disciples, as commanded in Matthew 28, to taking dominion, as commanded by modern prophets. This fundamentally redefines the gospel from salvation to political conquest. This is where the deception becomes most subtle and most dangerous. Because the NAR rejects the sufficiency of the Bible, it creates a theological vacuum that is filled with practices that look eerily similar to New Age and occult philosophies. Critics call this syncretism, smuggling non-Christian practices into the church under Christian labels. The New Age teaches that you access higher truth by listening to your inner voice or channeling ascended masters. The NAR uses the same mechanism, elevating personal prophecy and extra-biblical revelation, a prophet's dream, a vision of Jesus in heaven, as a reliable source of doctrine and life-altering strategy. The NAR's teaching that we can declare and decree our healing or financial blessing from the Word of Faith movement mirrors the New Age belief that human consciousness creates reality. The NAR promotes practices like spiritual mapping, naming demons over specific territories, and even activities like grave soaking, which is lying on deceased persons' graves to absorb their anointing. These methods have no foundation in the New Testament and resemble esoteric or necromantic rituals. They take spiritual language and apply it to a practice whose origin is decidedly unbiblical. We cannot ignore this because the Bible is clear. The foundation of the church is truth, but the pathway of deception is lined with false teachers and false prophets. The New Testament warns us repeatedly to test the spirits, 1 John 4 verse 1, and to avoid men who speak smooth words while exploiting people for financial gain, 2 Peter 2 verse 3. When we see widespread failed prophecies, as we have with NAR figures, the Bible gives a strict test, Deuteronomy 18 verse 22. The greatest alarm is that the NAR's goals are creating the perfect environment for the Antichrist system. The Bible warns that the final deception is a religious political machine, the whore of Babylon, that uses worldly wealth and power to enforce its will. Revelation 17. The NAR, with its drive for a unified global church control over the 7 mountains, is building the exact mechanism needed to implement a system of religious coercion that the beast will eventually commandeer. The New Apostolic Reformation is not just another Christian movement or denomination. It is a Trojan horse within the church, teaching that the way to serve God is to rule the world and not endure the world. My goal here is not to sensationalize. It is to warn you lovingly, based on the clear teachings of the Scriptures, that the biblical calling for us is to take up our cross and follow Jesus, Matthew 16 verse 24, and not to grab a crown and lead the cultural war. This is why I'm creating this video series. We will systematically examine the theology, the prophecies, and the hidden agenda and history of this movement. Please don't write this off as just my opinion. I urge you to watch the entire series and be a Berean. Test everything against the sufficiency of God's perfect and inspired written word. I would appreciate your thoughts on the subject in the comments section of the video. Please also subscribe to my channel so that I can reach more people with this urgent message. Thanks for watching.